Welcome to Florida Education News. My name is Dr. Tony Arza, and today I'm sitting down with a board member and candidate for Pinellas County Public Schools, Lisa Kane.
Good morning.
Very nice to sit down with you. Florida Education News, we're interested in giving candidates an opportunity to share a little bit about themselves, what their platform is, so that the voters can be informed on the issues and where you stand on the issues. But before we jump in, tell me a little bit about you and yourself and what made you want to run for school board.
Absolutely. I ran for school board the first time in 2018. Biggest inspiration for running is definitely that I have 4 children. At the time, they were 3, 5, 8, and 10 the first time I ran, and so they were just heading into school, and I wanted to be involved in the process. I started out as a PTA mom, pushing for recess in school, trying to make sure that our kids had a well-balanced day, and kept running into that roadblock of, oh, that's a school board decision, or that's a state decision. And so it inspired me to step up and be that parent that made a difference in our community.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you bring up that immediately the first experience was you ran up against the roadblock. Mm-hmm. And so that means that you understand from the parent's perspective, how a board member impacts a parent and a family. Could you say a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I think board members have one of the main parts of our job is to move the culture and the strategy of our district to help families, help parents, help teachers, and help the community to work cohesively. And I came in with a really interesting perspective because aside from being just a parent, I'm a community teacher. And so I own a performing arts studio where I teach musical theater and dance. So I have students from all over the county and the Tri-County area that come there, and I talk with their parents. I see their experiences in different ages, different age groups, and different schools. So that really filtered into my decision process as well, because I'm hearing similar roadblocks or similar positives from people in different areas of the county and also the Tri-County area.
Yeah, it's not easy to run for office. You expose yourself to obviously a lot of attacks and a lot of criticism and stuff like that. I'm just curious, what made you want to get involved, and what was so important about running for school board that made you be willing to run for office and be an elected official?
I think what's so important is making sure our students have opportunities for their future. I want to ensure that they have the best chance in the world they're inheriting. And I was hearing a lot of things about moving backwards or moving to things that are no longer in their future. The world of education is changing, education is continuously changing, and I think we need minds that are ready to bring solutions to that and help families navigate those new changes as they occur.
Yeah, and with the changes and the changing environment right now in Florida, you have universal school choice.
Absolutely.
And there have been board members that have been extremely vocal against school choice in the state of Florida. The Commissioner of Education has weighed in against that, very vocally against some of those board members. But a lot of people in Florida want to know where their board members stand on school choice. Could you kind of give your perspective on where you stand on school choice?
I am an example of school choice, I believe. From my background to the experiences I've had with my own children, I'm pretty certain I've taken advantage of all the different choices at one point or another. So I'm a huge supporter of giving families options. There isn't one option for all kids. And anyone who has more than one child knows they need different things. And depending on who they are and what they want to do with their life, or even just sometimes how they learn, is different, and a different environment can help that. So as a parent, I'm 100% behind having more options, and not just private or charter or public, but also options within our public school system, giving them opportunities to experience career paths they may not have thought of, having career technical programs for students, and expanding on those options in a variety of ways. So I'm a full supporter of giving them as much opportunity as we can.
Yeah, and when in your answer you bring up being a parent, being a mother, and anyone who is a parent knows that their kids are different. But I think it's interesting you bring up the fact that you are a mother. Could you kind of share how being a mother adds something or adds value to your role on the school board and your position as a candidate?
I think it's added a lot of value as a school board member, because I see how those decisions that are made in the boardroom trickle down to an everyday practice. I see how it's affecting my children when they come home from school. I see how it's affecting the school environment and culture. So when we are making those decisions, I'm keeping that in mind, not just from what my kids tell me, but their friends, the family members in the community who also have a voice in this, to say, well, this policy may or may not be working, or that one's really great and it's made a huge difference in the lives of, you know, my kids or my friends or my family members. And you hear that from the community, and you also hear that from teachers and administrators. So I think it gives a well-rounded idea of everyone's stake in this game. And it's important to have leaders that are willing to listen to all of those perspectives before making decisions and understand how they're going to affect them long term.
Yeah, well, I think that it's been great. The universal choice has included more parents and families in education, and I think it's great to have board members that bring the familial approach, and especially the approach of a mother. My wife does a great job with our kids, so I always want more women in
They're the
politics.
first stop.
Yeah, exactly. No, the other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is that there are some people in the community maybe don't know that school districts are responsible for some of the largest budgets, right, in the local community, and most school districts are the largest employer in their communities. Could you kind of share a little bit about how you manage the budget and how you make sure that the budget is working for the people in your community?
I think it's important to look at the results of where you are placing your money and see if it is making an impact in your district or not. And that's one of the first things I look at is, where is this budget going and how is it affecting the education of our students? How is it affecting their achievement? How is it affecting our teachers or our employees in that instance? I think we need to be frugal. As times move ahead, education is changing, but I think there's also opportunity to be more frugal we have the insurgence of AI in schools, and a lot of people are against it. A lot of people are maybe fearful of it. But the way I see it is it's reshaping our world, and it's not going anywhere. And as we move ahead, it's kind of like the new industrial revolution where jobs are changing. The future outlook is changing. How we use the technology is changing in schools and in our homes and in our businesses. And the question isn't, are we going to use it or not at this point? It's how. And how can we make that useful and good for our students so that we can prepare them for the world they are inheriting? Not the world we had, because it's changed. Even from 20 years ago, it's different. It's a new world that they have to navigate. How can we help them? And I think when you're talking about budget, how does that relate? There are less expensive options that do more. So can we be looking at those? And just depending on what we're looking at in the budget, but when it comes to programming, I think that's very helpful for us.
Yeah, and then you bring up a great topic, AI, technology. So AI isn't going anywhere. I think everyone sees that.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's this strong push against technology and screens in front of children.
Right.
What's your stance on technology, its role in education? Obviously, technology is a large, cost to a district, and there's a lot of investment that goes into technology. Most people in Florida, when they grew up, right, they had a book, and they had a pencil and a paper, and it wasn't as expensive maybe as it is today. So I'm just curious what your stance on technology in school is, and how should we be navigating? How do you try to navigate the AI revolution?
It's a really hard line to walk. I think parentally in the home, obviously the less screen time the better. I think all of the parents agree. We see it with our kids. We see how their attitude changes. We see how it affects them, how it affects their friends, and we don't want them on the screen all day long. That's not what I'm advocating. But there have been studies and there have been articles to prove that when you use it to enhance rather than replace, it actually is good for their education and for their development. So teaching them how to use the technology correctly when it's appropriate and when it's not. And I know in Pinellas, we implemented some rules for cell phones to make sure that especially younger students are not sitting on technology all day. We want them to interact as much as possible. And I'm a huge advocate for interacting. I'm a theater teacher and communication is key. If they don't know how to do that, they're going to struggle with everything because that's the connector. The arts are the connector. But I think technology in schools, there is a way to utilize it for the benefit of the district and the benefit of the teachers. I know they as time goes on, there's more and more regulation. One of the number one things I hear from teachers is there's too much paperwork, there's too much data that I have to collect, but AI is a huge helpful in that. And analyzing that data quickly and helping teachers through that process so they can spend more time teaching, communicating, being with their students, and not sitting there under piles of paperwork. So I think there's ways to use it that are helpful and to our advantage that are not going to interrupt our day-to-day function or the development of our students.
Yeah, no, and I hear you saying that we need to make sure the technology is serving our goals and make sure that it's working for the teachers and the kids. You have the unique position of being a board member who's running for re-election, which means you've already served in the board, as you brought up earlier. What are some of the things that you're most proud of during your time as a board member, and what more work is to be done? Because if you're running for re-election, right, it means that you still believe there's stuff that needs to be done, things that maybe you're not completely satisfied with or you want to continue to do. Could you kind of share a little bit about that?
Sure. Some of the high points, there's a couple of great things. I know we reimagined the district strategic plan a number of years ago. We brought on new superintendent Kevin Hendrick when he was new. I was very privileged to be, part of the strategic planning of that. And since then, Pinellas has been an A-rated school district. It has made a huge difference in our learning gains in all areas, our graduation rates, in balancing all of that. And additionally, one of my primary platforms in previous campaigns was the support of arts education. As an arts educator, I think it's integral to their education. I think that all students need to have participation in the arts. And this, while it wasn't solely me, but the work of the board, this year we were awarded from the Florida Music Educators Association School Board of the Year. Our superintendent has been recognized multiple times, and our district has won a number of national and local and district arts awards for their work in making sure that students have those opportunities in the arts to expand and to learn. And I think that the district has elevated that over the last number of years, and we continue to support that and hope that it is a huge part of the engagement in school. In moving forward, some of the areas that I know I want to continue to do work in is exactly what we were just talking about, navigating the new waves. We have also increased our CTE programs exponentially over the last few years, the number of certifications, the number of apprenticeship programs we've been able to offer to students, and career technical programming that we have been able to elevate in Pinellas has been huge. I want to continue to see those partnerships grow. And as education shifts to more of a personal experience, because I think as we move forward, education will become more of a personal experience and choice for each person, I want to ensure that those opportunities continue to expand for students so that we aren't limited.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and your platform.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.